couple of years ago in 2023, I was sitting outside with my parents and I remember telling them I had just downloaded and got running this Auto GPT from GitHub, and it was my first taste of agents. And I told them that the cure for cancer is not going to come from a big pharmaceutical company. It's going to come from a curious kid, a whiz kid whose mom has just been diagnosed with breast cancer. Well, guess what? The same type of case just happened in Australia, and we're going to talk about it right now on the Zane Benton podcast. So an article from the Daily Mail written by Olivia Day from Australia titled "Tech Entrepreneur Uses ChatGPT to Create a Personalized Cancer Vaccine for His Dog, and the Breakthrough Could Soon Help Humans Too." This article discusses a man, Paul, whose dog Rosie had been diagnosed with cancer. And Rosie was Paul's best friend, just like our dogs are. And he decided that he was not just going to sit and accept the fate of cancer or the death sentence that cancer gave his dog. He was going to do something about it. So he leveraged his technological background, not his biological background. That's very, very important to understand here. He leveraged his technological background and tapped into a large language model, ChatGPT, and asked it to come up with a cure for his dog's cancer. And so he says here in the article, he says, quote, "We took her tumor, sequenced the DNA, we converted it from tissue to data, and we use that to find the problem in her DNA and develop a cure based off that." And that was what he told the Daily Show. He said ChatGPT assisted throughout the entire process. So I have to ask you, do you think that you can do something special with this technology? Paul could come up with a cure for his dog's cancer. At least in this article, it says that it's shrunk the tumor by 75%. So what can we do with this technology? Well, we have businesses, we're in school, we have things we got going around the house, around the apartment, our cars break down, we can't get something going on our computer, whatever it may be. You may want to even dabble in robotics or 3D printing or whatever. This technology is yours to harness, and it's up to us to take advantage of it. So, I've spent time on the past few episodes talking about AI agents and how powerful they are and what they can do. But in this case, Paul was saying that he was just using ChatGPT. I mean, this is just and maybe he used something else. I read through the article and they didn't discuss any agentic workflow. And so it sounds like he was mostly interfacing with ChatGPT, but that's even more impressive, right? That he was able to use a basic chatbot, ChatGPT, and throughout the course of his work and coming up with a solution for his dog's cancer, it actually worked. I mean, it's hard to I couldn't imagine being in his shoes and going through that, because you know how it is when you're working on your computer or you're working on something and it's failure after failure after failure. And then finally you come up with the magical solution, and you may have been trying to come up with for the past hours, days, weeks, months, in some cases years, right? And then all of a sudden something clicks. And so in this case, it clicked for Paul and the university that he was working with in Australia, and they were able to sequence the pup's DNA. And not only that, they were able to get a vaccine, an mRNA vaccine. I know we've heard a lot about that over the past 5-6 years, but they were able to come up with a mRNA vaccine to inject into the dog. And they waited and they waited, and now the results that they're seeing is this cancer has reduced by about 75%. So that's just amazing news. And I think that we've heard stories about, like, and whether they're true, I don't know, maybe it's folklore about someone coming up with an engine that could run, get 300 or 500 miles per gallon. Well, that does not benefit Exxon, or that does not benefit these big petro oil companies. They need to sell their product, which is oil and gasoline and petroleum. So, and yes, I know petroleum is used in a bunch of almost everything, right? But gas and fuel is one of its main uses. And well, it does not benefit these companies if they allow those technologies to develop. So it's been rumored that these companies will buy out this technology to squash it. Well, when we get into the unfortunate reality of cancer, and we get into human beings and life and death, people will pay anything to stay alive, and it's justified entirely. And so what started out as trying to help people and hey, let's find a cure, has turned into a trillions of dollars. And well, where does that money go? I'm not exactly sure, but I do know that we do not have a cure for cancer yet, right? We're basically no more advanced today than we were 20 years ago. And so what good has that done? And then ask yourself, well, what is the incentive for these people, right? Not only what is the incentive for the pharmaceutical company, but what's the incentive for the labs and the research companies? Because much of this stuff is ran off grants, donations, nonprofits. And so these research labs that employ these very, very high-skilled jobs, these very intelligent people that work in these things, there's if they find the cure, well, they've got to go find another job. And so I think that, this hit me 3 years ago as I started the show, all saying that I was telling my parents, the cure for cancer is going to come from a curious kid. Now, whether it actually happens that way, in this case, it was Paul in Australia for his dog. And they're saying in this article, they were saying, oh, absolutely, that this can be used in humans as well. I'm no biologist. I do not pretend to understand the human genome or anything like that. But I do know that technology is technology, and right, DNA is DNA. If it's a dog or in a human, and we're talking about curing cancer because we're getting tissue and we're able to sequence the DNA and put that into a vaccine, well, then it can be done for just about anything, right? But it will be interesting to keep up with this and to see what happens. And I bet we really need to be paying attention to Mr. Conaghan, is Paul's last name, there in Australia. We need to be paying attention to what happens to him. He may get, they may buy him out. They could hire him. They could say, hey, we'll pay you $50 million if you sign this NDA and never talk about this again or use this technology into anything. But the good news is that we know that the cat's out of the bag now with this AI stuff. And sure, we know that with all technologies, there's bad actors and there's adversaries, and we got to combat those threats. But the good news is that it brings a lot of help and prosperity in many, many ways. And one of the ways is this right here, in true health and wellness and quality of life for people and extending people's lives. And I hope that this is a ripple effect, that people start paying attention to this and seeing that the power of AI is much more than just writing a paper for you, right? Or even, as we're discussing, setting up an email or setting up a crypto trading bot or something like that. There's real tangible use that we have really yet to see. So it's 2026, and there's many more good years ahead of us. And I think that if we all band together and put our collective heads around the good of this technology, then we'll be moving forward in a positive direction. And I'm just happy to be here on this ride with you. See you next time on the Zane Benton Podcast.